All right, welcome to your first lesson for this year. So we are going to start off in your notes packet, and this is your Unit 1 integers packet. On the front, it just says integers. So we're going to get started on that one, and we are actually starting on page number 2. And for page number 2, we're going to be talking about integers today and just doing a little bit of an opening for integers here. So we're going to start off, what you're going to do is you are going to take notes. Pause the video as you need to. I'm going to also pause it every once in a while and ask you a quick question just to make sure you're kind of following along. But today we're going to start off talking about what are integers. So integers is really the set of all positive and negative numbers along with 0. And a lot of times what you'll hear this set called the positive numbers and their opposites. So basically, if you have a positive 4, you also include a negative 4 then. So those are what opposites are, and we'll talk about them again a little bit more. You've probably seen a number line before. 0 goes in the center. These are all integers here. To the right side are all of our positive, and to the left side are all of our negative. What we're going to do first is quick place a couple integers on the number lines below. So we're going to start with letter A. We have the number 9, which is a positive 9. So we're going to put a dot right here on the actual line, and we're going to go ahead and label this A. B is a negative 4, so since it's negative, it will be to the left of 0. I'm going to go ahead and put a dot there and label that B. C is back up on the positive side at a number 3. And then D is down here at negative 8, so we're going to go ahead and put our dot on negative 8 and then call that letter D. Okay? So I'm going to have you go ahead, pause the video at this point, try this second one, do these as yours, and then pop on back here to check your work. So back to check your work, you should have letter A should be right here, B should be up here at 7, C is going to be down here at negative 5, and then D is going to be up here at 1. Using the number line, identify. So we're going to talk about moving to the left and to the right because that's going to get us set up for our next couple lessons here. So if we start 2 units to the left of 3, so if I actually start here at 3 and I go 2 units to the left, that's going to move me over to the number 1. The next one is 6 units to the right of negative 1. So we're going to start at negative 1 this time and go 6 units right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, and that's going to go here and take us to the number positive 5. 4 units to the left of negative 4, so we're going to start down here and then go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, and that's going to go ahead and take us to a negative 8 then. The next part of your notes talks about opposites, which is kind of how I started talking about the lesson and the definition of integers. The opposite of a number is the same exact number, but it's just on the other side of 0 on the number line. So for example, here we have 5 and negative 5. So 5 is over here, negative 5 is over here, and if you notice that 0 is right down here in the middle, and that was kind of a terrible drawing right there. But you have 5 is positive 5 to the right of 0, and then your opposite is 5 units to the left. So they're just on opposite sides. One's the positive version, one's the negative version. So it says mark the number and its opposite on the number line. So it's asking us to mark negative 6, which would be right here. And then the opposite of negative 6 is going to be positive 6. So we're just going to mark those two on that number line there. Next part just asks you to identify a couple opposites. Remember, these are just positives and negatives. So if you have a positive 12, its opposite is a negative 12. If you have a 35, your opposite is a negative 35. If you have a negative 99, its opposite is a positive 99. And the opposite of 10 is going to be a negative 10. Relatively easy to identify those. So where do we actually see integers in real life? So integers are positive and negative numbers, and we're going to see a couple different scenarios and some key words here that you'll notice I've bolded on your notes packet for you. So when we talk about withdraw money from our bank account, James withdrew $80 from his bank account. That means he took it out. So that means that number actually got subtracted. So it was a negative $80 for his bank account. Henry adds 18 more toy cars to his collection. Well, adding something is a positive, so that's going to be a positive 18. Kevin took 5 crayons to school and he lost them all. So losing your crayons is going to give you a negative number. Lillian received $10 in allowance from her dad. She got this. So this was a positive because it got added on to what she already had. The last two we have, Anna's vegetable garden yielded 26 tomatoes in all. So that's what she got out of her garden. So that's a positive 26. And the last one, Boston recorded a sub-zero. Sub means below zero temperature of 31. Once we go below zero, we're talking about negatives here. So that's negative 31 degrees Fahrenheit. The last skill that's going to get started on this page of your notes is for you to actually go ahead and start taking a look on ordering integers. I have these all out of whack on this page here. Here we go. Let's fix this. So we're going to fill in the missing integers on the number line. So we're going to kind of look for a little pattern here. If we go from this step to this step, this step to this step, or even looking over here, we are adding 4 every single time that we are moving to the right. So if I'm adding 4, negative 8 plus a 4, that's going to bring me down to a negative 4. Add on another 4, that's going to take me to a 0, 4, 8, and that'll be a positive 12. Down here, these two are the ones that are right next to each other, so I'm going to actually use them to look for this pattern. What do you notice is our pattern here as we go from 15 up to 20? If you said we're adding 5, that is correct. So we're going to go ahead. This will be 25 here, and this one will be 30. So then to move backwards, because from left to right was adding 5, so going back to the left, we'd be subtracting 5. So it's going to take us down to 10 and down to 0 over here then. So we have one more thing for us to work on in this particular lesson, and it's just basically putting integers in order. So we're going to use a number line to help us out. We're going to go through and we're going to go ahead and mark all these numbers. So my first is a negative 9. My next one is a 4. I'm going to come up to 4 and put a dot. Then a negative 5, so I'm going to come down here to the left. And then a positive 2. Now, if I'm going from least to greatest, that's left to greatest is your right, so left to right. So we're going to start off, negative 9 is our least, followed by negative 5, followed by 2, and finally followed up by 4. Our next example, and this is our final one for this part of the lesson, we're going to go ahead and mark these integers on the number line again. And in this case, we're going to order them from greatest to least. So we're going to be going from the right backwards to the left then. So our first number to mark is a negative 2. Our next number to mark is a negative 1 and a 9, which is all the way up here, and then a negative 7. So remember, this one wants us to go greatest to least, so we're going to start at the right side and work our way back down. So all the way up on the right, the greatest number is 9, followed by a negative 1, followed by a negative 2, and then finally a negative 7 is going to be our least. All right, so that wraps up our first lesson that we have for today, which is our Introduction to Integers. So this is lesson 1.1, Introduction to Integers.